Welcome back to Small Caps. My name is Kerry Stevenson. Today, I'm bringing you all things nickel, and you can't miss this one. It's called NickelX, and the ASX code is NKL. Joining me today is Matt Gauci. He's the Managing Director, and NickelX fully funded to explore in the Fraser-Albany belt over in WA. Really exciting. You've pretty much just listed. This is a newbie, ladies and gentlemen. So sit up and take some notice. Matt, great to see you.
Yeah, good to be with you, Kerry. No dramas.
Well, Matt, you've had a good history in this industry. I'd like to know a little bit, before we get stuck into the detail, give us an overview of who are NickelX.
Yeah, so as you said, we only listed about 8 weeks ago, raised 7 million on the IPO. It was heavily oversubscribed, with a focus on what we know is our bread and butter, which is nickel copper exploration in the Albany Fraser belt. We've all been early investors at some stage in Sirius on the discovery of Nova. We're all technically and corporately experienced in terms of either exploring or developing nickel copper projects in the Albany Fraser, and felt this is a absolutely unique opportunity to be one of the few, if any, independent 100% owned explorers in the Albany Fraser belt looking for nickel copper, given the majority of the players in the belt are either Mark Creasy owned companies or IGO companies. So yeah, we're really excited. 20 odd conductors to keep us busy on exploring and try and find another Nova.
Trying to find another. And for those of you that don't know, Nova was a massive success, wasn't it, Matt, back in there? How long ago was that discovered?
Yeah, so that was 2010, I think. Funny enough, I think it was at a Melbourne Mining Club luncheon, and someone mentioned the discovery to me on that announcement. Yeah, obviously it just went from strength to strength, and 5 cents to sort of $3, and obviously a $20-odd million company to a $3 billion takeover company, and I think all nickel discoveries in WA generally have that acceleration about them, given nickel's such a bread and butter commodity in Western Australia, and these deposits got the added value of having copper in it, which we know copper is the biggest industry in the world from an industrial metals perspective. And
is it, Matt, is it unusual to have that sort of, I mean, I'm not a geo by background, and I'm sure some people listening, is it unusual to get nickel copper like you do in the Fraser Range belt?
Well, it's not unusual. There's only a couple of belts around the world that have it consistently. The Thompson's belt in Canada is a prolific nickel copper belt. They've mined over 3 million tonnes of nickel copper for 40 years. In the Fraser Range and Albany Fraser belt, we've only mined 0.3 million tonnes over 10 years. So there's an enormous amount of discoveries yet to come for nickel copper. Okay. So it is unique Proterozoic belt, and having that addition of copper and cobalt, I should state as well, as we could call being byproducts, then it makes for a fantastic mix of commodities, which are pretty key to the clean energy market.
Well, that's right, because there is a big shift in demand, isn't there, for nickel and copper with all this green energy. Is that why you specifically liked to go into that commodity at the moment, because you can see the supply demand?
Yeah, look, we felt it was always going to be a key to the lithium-ion battery market. Nickel's the real workhorse of the lithium-ion battery market. BHP have just signed a deal with Tesla. Western Areas have just pumped, $500 million into developing their projects in the Leinster belt. And of course, what we're now seeing is a nickel price appreciation on the back of just enormous demand from the lithium-ion battery market. But clearly, the most enormous demand is from the steel market, which post-COVID-19 or during COVID-19, there's stimulus packages from governments around the world have really built, in China, for instance, another 50 steel mills. And what that means is they need nickel to build stainless steel. And then, of course, we're not even into the first quarter, if you like, using a footy analogy, of the EV and energy storage market, which uses lithium-ion batteries. So the price is pushing $20,000 a tonne, and we're in line with City analysts and the BHP analysts that probably not going to go any lower than that for another year or so. And even if it does, we're not counting in that enormous EV growth demand profile, which is just getting bigger and bigger, literally by the day. It's quite extraordinary. And so, yeah, nickel's the workhorse for the clean energy market, we believe. And yeah, we think we're in the right place at the right time.
Well, I want to talk about, it's your flagship project, the Biranup project. Before we get into the size of it, what you've got and what you're doing, how did you get your hands on it? Because obviously it's, you know, a lot of places are either overexplored or they're in other people's hands. How did you manage to get this project?
Yeah, so initially we were looking at lithium in the US, for instance, through South Dakota and Arizona. And then as COVID hit, we felt as though it was probably a pretty smart idea to start looking at home for minerals which are linked to that market. And given that the majority of the board had explored, developed, mined nickel, copper in the Fraser Range, we knew that part of the world really well, and have had success in that part of the world really well. We identified an opportunity that a company called VRX Silica had. It was not their priority project. They went off and are continuing to successfully develop silica mines just outside of Perth, and we know the guys really well, and managed to cut a deal really, to be honest with you, really quickly and really easily, and they're such good guys to deal with. So we reviewed the data and found that there was 20 odd conductors, which were an important part of discovering nickel sulfides within the tenement. We felt that it was underexplored. We know that the VRX guys sort of got to a point where they said, look, we've got this silica opportunity, we've got to go for it. So this is non-core, let's put it into a company who's dedicated, has got systematic explorers. And so we cut a deal, sort of $2.5 million in script. It was done really quickly and took on CBS Capital as our lead broker, lead manager to the offer. And so, yeah, the VRX guys are really good to deal with on that. And again, as I said at the beginning, with one of the only independent, if you like, explorers for nickel copper in the Albany Fraser Belt.
VRX still got some ownership of this project now the deal is done?
Yeah, so not of the project. We bought it for 100%, but they've got some sort of 7-8% capital of the company. Wow. No board positions. There's a milestone payment of reaching some technical success of sort of, I think it's 5 million tonnes at sort of 2% nickel and 0.5% copper, which clearly be happy to pay a milestone payment on discovery of that type of mineralisation, because you'd be $1 billion company if you do. So we're really happy to have them on board, to be honest. They're great supporters, really keen to see us do our thing, which is get on the ground and work.
Get going, exactly. So let's talk about the flagship project, Biranup. That's at the northern end of the Albany Fraser Belt. So what's been done there historically, and what are you guys doing now that you're listed and you're on the boards?
Yeah, sure. So originally it was owned by Anglo, who owned the Tropicana gold mine just 10 kilometres down the track from us, one of West Australia's greatest gold discoveries and now one of West Australia's greatest gold mines, real cash cow. So they own this ground looking for gold. They flew what's called a Spectrum airborne EM survey, a really high-powered, detailed proprietary system they own, and that was looking for structures with gold. What that data came up with was 20-odd EM conductors that didn't explain gold, it explained base metals. At that time, they decided to move on from the project to focus on expanding Tropicana, as you logically would. Tropicana went from 2-3 million ounces to 8 million ounces at 2 and a bit grams per tonne. And obviously, when you're expanding operations, you just pull all your geos out of the field and get them onto the mine where you know that bucket loads of gold are. So they ended up dropping it. VRX picked it up. They did a small amount of drilling at our 2 key targets, being Fire Dragon and Silver Dragon, found some massive sulfides. And so they left us with about a $10 million exploration database to get our teeth into. And of course, our team were more than comfortable to get their teeth into those targets and to produce a prospectus, an exploration plan and activity plan to really give it a proper systematic go, because we know there's absolutely prospectivity for nickel copper there now, but there's still prospectivity to gold. We're really pumped about the gold prospectivity too.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, everybody out there, you all know I'm a gold nerd, so that's music to my ears, Matt. Let's talk about the drilling program and your timing. What's the news flow coming forward? Because as I said at the start, you're newly listed. Not that many people know about you. I will tell you this, though, ladies and gentlemen, their share price is up since listing. So there must be a lot of, I guess, confidence in the fact that people like the project where you are, and they have confidence that there's going to be nickel copper found in that area. And now you tell me gold as well, so I'm happy. So what are you doing?
No, that's right. So I think, in my experience listing 5 or so listed companies and being involved in 50 odd mining projects globally, you really don't get your share price evaluations moving in a bona fide manner until you actually start doing bona fide work. And in our industry, it's drilling. And so once you start drilling, it really does garner interest from the market, be it retail institutions. And then clearly once you get your results and start to understand exactly what's going on in the system when your larger institutions come in, so we can see a share price appreciation from the date that we started drilling, which was only a couple of days or a week ago. So the guys going well, they're through their first of about 9 holes halfway through. And yeah, can't get into it too much, but hasten to say they're pretty excited. We're excited, and we'll know a little bit more over the next week or so what that first hole is looking like, and that's going to tell us a really good story as to what this system is apparent, be it a magmatic or a hydrothermal system. And clearly we're looking for expanding those historical massive sulfides which have been found, and massive sulfides are the real cornerstone of clearly nickel copper deposits, or even nickel deposits. So it's going to be a 2-month process to get through it systematically. And of course, we've got the driller booked for this phase 1 program, which is circa 1,200 metres, and then our phase 2 program being an additional 5,000 metres, which will effectively be taking us into the other targets we've got at Fire Dragon, being FD1, FD2 and 4. And then onto this fantastic magnetic eye feature that we've got, which is actually not too similar to the magnetic eye feature that was found at Nova Bollinger that Sirius owned at the time, to drill test that as well. And then onto our gold project, or gold target within the same project area called Black Dragon, which is the 9 by 5 kilometre gold in soil anomaly. So we're going to test all those, and that'll take us all the way through September, December quarter. And yeah, it's all fully funded. It's partly funded by the West Australian government through an EIS co-funded drilling program. So yeah, we're just going to be heads down, bum up, getting some drilling works done and understanding this system in a systematic manner over the next sort of 3 to 6 months.
When you say understand the system in a systematic manner, for those out there that don't know, what does that mean when you say we're just going to do it systematically? How do you get that better understanding? Is it purely by drilling, or are you going to be doing some soil sampling? I mean, what is it that you're doing to understand it?
Yeah, in these systems where there's a lot of overburdened soil sampling, it's not necessarily going to be all that useful. So what we do is we generally follow the path of doing EM surveys, either airborne EM or ground EM. We'll then design a systematic and iterative drill program where we're not tied to doing 10,000 metres of drilling, but we'll do a couple of thousand metres of drilling, get a good understanding as to what's going on in terms of where the mineralisation comes from within the system, how it flows through the system, and where it deposits in the system. So that mineral systems approach, we're very strong on, and that's something that one of the other technical directors, Ollie Cruiser, and I worked on when we went in private equity in conjunction with the Centre for Exploration targeting EWA. You've got to use that mineral systems approach to know exactly what's going on in the system to be able to have a better understanding as to where the minerals are depositing. So those conductors which you garner from EM surveys give you a really good indication to reduce your area of interest down to 1% of the area, and then your drilling is going to reduce your area of interest down to 0.5% of the area, such that you then hopefully will be hitting that mineralisation. So you have to go through a systematic process, step-by-step process. Doesn't happen overnight. We're not ever saying we're going to hit the mother lode on day one, but what we are saying is we've got enough cash to be able to really go through it systematically, understand it, get a really good snapshot of what's going on in the system, such that every drill program we move we have running forward is well thought out.
Yeah, Matt, for those that don't know, I mean, Matt, I've known you for a number of years, Matt, and you know this industry well. I'm curious, was this when you understood what you were getting from VRX and that this was a potential nickel copper, and it is very much potential. This is exploration, ladies and gentlemen. Given your understanding of geology, what excites you most about this project and its potential going forward? Is it the location, or is it the rock structure? What is it?
No, it's a really good question. It's an interesting one. I mean, I think the majority of the nickel explorers have always felt the Fraser Range within the Albany Fraser Belt, because of its age and its magmatic structures, was the only real belt to hold economic nickel deposits. But we felt something completely different. We felt as though this has got absolute prospectivity for igneous, or it's an igneous belt.
What does that mean? What does that mean, an igneous belt, for those of, including me, that don't know what that means?
Well, it's certainly a lot larger and older system than the Fraser Range. That can obviously throw up a lot larger mineralisation tons, if you like. So we think there's still magmatic and or hydrothermal type opportunities there. But I guess from a high level perspective, it's never been explored for base metals effectively. It was a gold project, and it was a gold project that Anglo had that effectively just left because all of their geos got pulled out to develop a 8 million ounce, 2 gram per tonne gold deposit and mine, which is a logical thing to do.
Absolutely.
So all that opportunity has been left for us to take on and then to explore and develop. So that's the real key thing that that attracted us to the area. Reasonably advanced from an exploration perspective in terms of data, and then completely overlooked by players who are primarily looking for gold. And that's not to say we won't be looking for gold. We'll be doing a systematic program at the Black Dragon Gold Project as well. But that's just one of a number of reasons.
You got 6 exploration licenses across, I think it's 400 square kilometres, is that correct? And is that the silver, the black, and the do we have the fire dragon? They're all called dragons, which I think is fabulous.
Yeah. Oh, look, it's not our call. We'll inherit whatever names previous explorers called it, and they've got their reasons for doing it. But it is what it is. Yeah. So they're 3 of probably about 30 targets, but they're the 3 high priority targets.
Right.
And then there's another 27 odd sort of priority targets that need to be advanced. But the first cab's off the rank, yeah. Definitely Fire Dragon and nickel copper target, Silver Dragon, another nickel copper target, and Black Dragon, our gold target, which, yeah, we've got 2 PhD gold geologists on our board, being Chris Patera and Ollie Cruiser. And yeah, to be honest, they're absolutely pumped about it. You know, it's a 9 by 5 kilometre gold in soil anomaly, 10 kilometres from Tropicana, which is one of WA's greatest gold discoveries. And yeah, they're absolutely pumped about the work that we're going to be doing there. And so it's exciting work.
You said earlier it's going to be systematic. Are you going to be doing work on Fire Dragon, Silver Dragon, and what was the other one? Black Dragon.
Black Dragon.
Which is the gold one. Are you going to be doing something on those all at the same time, or is it literally we hit one and then the next one and the next one? Because 2 are nickel copper, 1's gold.
Yeah, no, that's right. So they're all running in tandem, but they're at different stages. So Fire Dragon's had all the prep work done, being field work, EM work. Now we're drilling it, and we'll probably keep drilling it for a while. The guys have already been out to Black Dragon, which is the gold target, to do some field work. They're on their way this week to Silver Dragon to do some field work. EM surveys are in process to be done on both of those, and then drilling will be lined up. So, yeah, pending the drilling results at Fire Dragon, the rig will move over to Black Dragon, the gold project, and or the gold target, and to Silver Dragon, the other nickel copper target, to test them as well. But yeah, clearly, if you find something pretty significant at Fire Dragon, I suggest we won't be moving the rig anywhere.
What's access like? I want to give a visual for our listeners and our viewers out there. Where is the ground?
Yeah, so we're 400 kilometres east of Kalgoorlie. Tropicana's got a dual carriage highway, clearly because they're one of WA's biggest gold miners, from Tropicana down to Kalgoorlie. So driving out Tropicana is no problem. You can go 120 kilometres an hour. It's 100 kilometres an hour, I should say.
He didn't say that, ladies and gentlemen. He said 100.
100, and you know, yeah, it's a great highway. There's no dramas with that. Clearly, it's a 3-4 hour drive, and then it's about 10 kilometres to site. So all the tracks have been rehabilitated. All the tracks have been cleared. They've been set up really well for the drillers, and pretty serious heavy equipment to get out there. So at the moment, access is really good. It just takes time. You've got to
Absolutely.
obviously do your 2-hour flight to Kalgoorlie, jump in your vehicles, and a couple of hours drive out to site. But access is good. Weather's good at the moment. There's huge storms coming through Perth. This big front has come through this system here, and generally it peters out when it gets to Kalgoorlie. But speaking to the guys this morning, they don't have too much problem with weather at the moment.
Good, excellent. Well, we're running out of time, Matt, and I'm sure I'm going to have you back on because I know your background. You just like getting on with things pretty quickly. So just to sum it up for us, give us 3 reasons for the people that are listening. NickelX, ladies and gentlemen, just listed. Matt's been around for a while. He understands this type of deposit, and he's getting on with the job. But what are 3 reasons that you think people should sit up and take notice of NickelX right now? And as I said before, ladies and gentlemen, the ASX code is NKL.
Yeah, look, I mean, firstly, the nickel market is obviously in a bull market. We've hit $20,000 a tonne. The demand profiles off the scale, supply shocks are happening, and nickel is a great place to be. In terms of the Albany-Fraser belt being, where we are, some of the highest grade and most profitable nickel mines in the world are based in that belt. None better than Nova, of course, with the addition of some copper and cobalt credits. A lot of transactions going on in the district. IGR are really cleaning everyone up. They just bought Creasy's Silver Knight deposit for $50 million and a whole bunch of tenements. That's the second thing. And then the third thing is the team. You've really got to have people that are experienced in the belt, that have operated in the belt for a long time, that understand these nickel mineralisation systems. And so with 2 PhD geologists on the board who know their system really well, a chairman being Jonathan Downs, who's got a successful nickel background, and then our exploration manager, Tony Donaghy, who's a world expert in nickel systems. They're the 3 real key reasons. 1, the market. 2, the belt and the type of shareholder returns that they deliver. And then 3, a management team, which is delivered previously and knows its system, knows its commodity, and knows its market.
And Matt Gauci is the MD. What else could you ask for, ladies and gentlemen? Matt, thank you so much for joining us at Small Caps today. And I'm looking forward to the news that's going to come out of that drilling campaign you've got going on. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, no worries. Good stuff, Kerry. Thank you.